All right, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to replace a winch cable on a vertical ShoreMaster hoist. There's only two different styles, and that is, well, two styles. There's two lengths of cable that you're going to need, either 9 foot or 10 foot. Either way, the technique is going to be the same. So you can see that we have the cradle here strapped up. That's going to be the first thing that you're going to want to do. Now there's going to be two scenarios that you run into with replacing a cable. Either A, it's going to be very frayed and splitting apart, and the person's going to call us to come replace it before it breaks, or they call us after it has broken and we have to replace it. It barely changes what you're going to have to do. If the cable's not broken, all you have to do, most likely the boat is still on it, just lower the boat down, unhook it from the winch, and then pull the cable out through and then put the new one in. Whereas if the cable's broken, there might be a few extra steps. There's probably still cable in the winch that you'll have to get out, and you might have to grab them with pliers or something like that. And then the broken piece will be kind of mangled, and you might just have to cut it off with a grinder and pull it through, but I'll show you those steps. So first thing we're going to do, in this scenario, this cable, we'll call it broke. You can see that it's very mangled, and I'd be very careful touching this because it's got a little tiny burrs sticking out that will stab you very easily, and it does hurt. So that being said, what we're going to have to do to pull this cable out through, all this mangled mess is not going to fit through our pulleys there, and so we're going to have to just take this, grind it so it's a nice clean cut, and then we can just pull it right through. So now what we're going to do with that cut cable is come over here, and on the other side we're just going to pull this up and through. Just be careful when you get towards the end because it's going to want to kind of fling out at you. And again, be careful where you grab this because it is pretty sharp in some spots. Alright, so the winch cable is out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen that bolt up so we can just take that cable out from the top. This is an old style cable. The newer cables don't have this eyelet right here, but on these old ones you can just stick a screwdriver through the eyelet to keep it from spinning on you. And you're just going to take a 3/4 socket and loosen her up. So now the next step is just going to be putting the new cable in, and this is where you have two choices of how do you want to put it in. One being, we have this technique where we tape up a long tail on the end of it and we try to feed it through the beam, and once you get proficient at it, it's the faster version. The other way you can do it is disconnect this beam right here and take the whole beam off, but you'd also have to take these brackets for the bunks and the guides off as well, and adds a little bit extra work. But when you remove this beam, you can then loosen up these pulleys, take the pulleys right out, and then sliding the cable through is no problem. But first, I'm going to show you the feeding way of doing it. So once you get the new cable out of the box, just take the tape and the tag off, and then you can see here the newer style ones have this hex shaped bottom portion, so you can put a crescent wrench on it just like this, and that'll stop it from spinning while it's up there. So you want to make sure that when you put this back in, it goes back in the same hole, and you can see that there's two holes up here, and only one of them is actually in line with where it feeds in, so just make sure it's going through that hole, or else you're gonna end up cutting something with the cable. So, like I said before, I'm just going to put the crescent wrench on here, tighten it up so it doesn't spin on me. We're just going to tighten that down so that there's about 1/4 inch of thread showing at the top, 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. And then with this, we're just going to straighten all of this cable out. What I like to do is feed it through the end of this right here. That way you can now take this end and feed it straight through. And what you want to do is make sure that this is feeding straight under that pulley right there. And it's really easy to do on this side, but once we feed it through, that's where we're going to have to get start using our technique for feeding it. So it's through the other side right now, so we'll go set that up. So what I'm going to do with this electrical tape here is just start a little ways down, so that way you have a decent contact. Maybe not that far down, you can probably do half of what I just did there, but what we're going to do is just keep wrapping it until it's off of the cable, and just keep wrapping, and we're just going to create a tail off of this cable here, long enough for us to hold on to. The purpose of this is so that we can hold on to it while someone pulls on it from the other side, and they can still hold on to this and guide it through the pulley. And it's a lot smaller than the pulley, so it's easier to feed through. I'm just gonna wrap this up a little more. And you wanna make sure you don't make this too thick, or else the cable's gonna have a hard time going through the pulley, and it's gonna make it a lot more difficult. So, all right, go ahead and pull it. All right, stop. So what I'm gonna do is feed this tape. I don't know if you can see this in here, but that tape is on that pulley right now. And all right, pull it back just a tiny bit. Keep going. All right, and now you're gonna want the other person to push, and you're not gonna really wanna pull on the tape, or else the tape will just break. So go ahead and push the cable. And you can see that the cable's coming right through the pulley right now because we guided it there, and then we're good. That's all you gotta do. And so now you take the cable, pull it up through this hole, and it's gonna wanna twist on you. Just make sure it doesn't pop out of that pulley when it does that. And there you go. You're riding on the pulley, you're riding on it nice, and then our next step is gonna be putting it in the winch. All right, so with these Whisper Winch 2.0s, which that's what this model is, it's one of the newer models of Whisper Winch, make it really easy for you because there's only one spot where the cable can actually go in. So you can see there's a set screw right here, which holds the cable in. And then you rotate it just a little bit more, and there's a hole for the cable. On some of the older models, this hole goes all the way through, so there's two entrances for this hole. You want to make sure on those older models that this cable is going to be routed this way, and it's going to go with the hole as you spin it upwards, or else the cable is going to end up winding backwards on itself, and it's going to pinch itself, and that can cause it to break. So anyways, with this one, we got it in the hole, pushed it all the way in, and then we're going to have to rotate it back to reach that set screw here. And then once we can get an Allen key in there, we're just gonna tighten it down. And I'm gonna tighten it down with my hands, but then for a little extra afterwards, you can grab some channel locks and twist the end for some extra leverage. Just like that. And now you can see I'm pulling on the cable and it won't come out. You want to make sure you give it a nice tug after the fact to make sure it won't come out, just to make sure you got it in there good. So with that done, we'll have this done up there, and then once it's in, you're good to start respooling the cable, and you can bring the lift back up and the cable's fixed, and we're good to go.